Absolute bedlam. Absolute bedlam. Absolute bedlam. Talking about topics and stuff. Absolute bedlam. Absolute bedlam. Absolute bedlam podcast. Who? What? Where? Why?
Do you need that extra burst of energy? Do you need motivation? Do you need that X factor? Well, Go Energy has you covered. Whatever gets your juices flowing. Whatever you need to let your hair down. Have a go at it all with Go Energy. Gluten-free, vegan-friendly, and no artificial additives. Go Energy. Use code BEDLAM10 at checkout.
Hello, welcome to a special edition of Absolute Bedlam podcast. We've just finished season 13, but Mr. Lars and Mr. Darklord have given me an offer of interviewing them on their album 999, which is just about to drop. And it's an offer that I couldn't refuse. Just quickly peek behind the curtain, I saw Wheatus last weekend, and if it wasn't for Mr. Lars, then I might not have seen him, and I might not have got on the VIP list, and I might not have got to meet Brendan, because he hooked me up previously in a previous interview that we did. So yeah, anything I can do to help you guys promote your album, I'm here. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Ben. Well, you're always sending me those joyful Twitter messages.
Yeah.
You're the only person who DMs me on Twitter, so X. So it's great to be able to talk in person because I see those alerts. Then Ben's thinking about something.
That's it. I've always got something going on. So, 999. Disney songs with a darker meaning to them. Whose idea was it? And how did you both find time to do it as a duo?
What a question. Schaefer, you want to go first?
Sure. The idea evolved into what it became, which was we didn't even have to take Disney material and make it dark. We just went and found all of the darkest Disney material that already existed. And as we discovered going through the history of Disney's catalog, there's a lot of very dark stuff and a lot of stuff that involves the supernatural. The original idea for the album was Lars's idea. We were on tour in 2020, right before COVID lockdown started. And at the end of that tour, we celebrated by going to Disney World in Florida. And I'd never been to a Disney park before. And we went on the Haunted Mansion ride. Lars had been several times, and it was a favorite of his. And I think it was shortly after that that Lars came up with the idea that we should team up and do a collaborative album about the Haunted Mansion. We discovered as we started, sketching out some ideas for it that a whole album just based on a theme park ride wasn't going to be enough material. So the idea then expanded, and we decided to take on just occult elements throughout the Disney universe. Yeah. But I would say, to answer that question, I would credit Lars as being the mastermind behind the concept.
Love it.
Thanks, Schaefer.
So has your solo stuff sort of gone on a bit of a back burner to release this as a collaborative effort, or are you still full steam ahead on your own personal projects as well?
That's a great question. I mean, we both have very active Patreons. It's very interesting, Ben. You might have perspective on this. Like, it seems like Spotify, the best way to get engagement is to drop a bunch of singles. And a better way to get engagement is to drop a bunch of singles where you tag people who are algorithmically related to you. So basically, as the robots have taken over, making your own solo music as a small indie musician is kind of like a great way just to lose money and have no one ever hear your songs. So I'm thinking like, I'll just do like, if whenever Shaver's down, I'd love to do a record with him. And then I'm going to release my old Patreon songs. And then I probably won't do another solo Lars record. So yeah, just because I've been there, done that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's a fool's errand. Everyone who cares about our stuff is 50 and nostalgic. And the curve is just, the profit curve is just going like this. Yeah. So if you have a friend, it does a little 1% up before it goes to zero. So that's my That's my optimistic take. Shaver, what about you?
I am surprisingly less pessimistic in this regard than MC Lars,
Wow.
who is always the face of optimism. I'm still working hard on solo stuff. Like he said, we've both got very active Patreons. And I throughout the summers we were working on material for this. It would be like a week of really focus on 999 songs before I would have to get into my week where I crank out Patreon content and then return to 999. And so now that we spent most of this year kind of navigating that kind of work schedule, I feel like I'm just going to continue to do it. I'm working on another album now, and and I'm grinding away at Patreon.
Fair enough. As a duo, how did you approach shared songwriting for this project? Did you do one song each, or was there a bit of conflict?
Wow. Man, you got great questions. By the way, I was kind of being like devil's advocate about the obscurity. I thought it was funny to say though, because it's just interesting how like every year it's there's more and more people making music, which is dope. To do this record, some songs I wrote all the lyrics, some songs Schaffer wrote all the lyrics, and then some songs we just like would have blank spots for the other person to write. We did no writing in person. And I don't know if I know, Ben, you're a big 21 Pilots fan.
Yep.
Do they work remotely, or do they sit down together and just rock that flavor?
I think they work remotely for a lot, and then they get together in a studio and they just absolutely hammer it out over like a month period. But I think they're in the process of writing another album, so I'll have to watch the documentary when it comes out on how they do this one.
And you got to get up on your show, both of them.
Yeah, man. I'm so up for that. Josh, Tyler, if you're watching, let's do it.
That's what's up. That's tight. Wait, Schaffer, what else did we do to write the record?
That was it. It was we start off with a list of concepts, and we kind of, as we went through the list, a few of us would kind of call dibs on songs that we were going to thread the needle, so to speak. So one of us would maybe take one of the songs from the list and say, I'm going to start this one. I'll find a temporary beat. I'll write a verse. I'll write a hook. And then I'll send it to the other one for feedback and notes and for him to write his parts. It was kind of different. There wasn't a consistent formula throughout. We kind of played with really our working dynamic throughout this. And I feel like it really worked out. I kind of anticipated it would get derailed a few times here and there, but it never really did. But then again, Lars and I have 20 years of doing collaborative tracks together. This is just our first time doing a full-length album together. So I feel we were ready for it.
Yeah, fantastic.
And Ben, when you do a Kickstarter, people paid you for something that you have to finish it. So like Cuckoo Kangaroo, they were like, wait, you launched a Kickstarter and you've not written anything? We're like, basically. And that's a great motivator, knowing that like your fans are going to hate you forever if you run off with their money or spend more than 6 months making them wait, So shout out to the fans for that. But Schaffer's very, very organized. And I've never worked with someone who in any genre who's this organized or passionate, like as a solo artist. So it made it a joy to work on, because every day I'd open my email and hear these amazing things. And Schaffer has a very really percussive, alliterative, advanced rhyming style, being a drummer and being just a badass musician. So like it was really cool to step up my game and try to like make my rhymes more complicated and play off him, because like sometimes there's a dynamic where he's like super energetic and fast and I'm kind of laid back. Then there's some songs with the dynamic where I'm like the like kind of manic character and he's kind of like the voice of reason. And so the timbre of our voices plays off the thematic content in a way that was really interesting to me and never boring, and it never felt like we were repeating ourselves. So that was fun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's what's up.
That's awesome. I've been doing some sort of business book reading in my spare time for my job, which is IT, electronics, technology, and all that sort of stuff. And I've realized that in companies, you have to have people that are extroverts and introverts, and you also have to have people that can mix together. Because if you just have a company full of introverts, you get the whole Silicon Valley thing of no one can actually talk to each other. They'd rather just message you on Skype. But you have to have these two things equally, and it's cool that you two can interchange you know, if one of you's not feeling it one day, then the other one can kind of pick up the slack, and you can rely on each other by the sounds of it.
That's true.
Nice.
We were getting near the end of the songs, or the near the list of songs that we had plotted out for the album. We decided to add this an additional song, and I took a crack at it for a while, and I don't know if I was experiencing burnout or if I just wasn't connecting with that one so well, but I wrote this message to Lars saying, like, I don't know, I think this one's dead in the water. It's not going to work out. I don't have an angle. I don't have a point of view for it. And Lars came back within 24 hours with what ended up being like one of my favorite songs on the album. So yeah, we did a good job of like picking up where one another would be like a little overwhelmed.
Cool. Love that.
Yeah. Was that Mr. Boogedy?
Yeah.
So that one, Ben, is this, it was like this Disney made for TV movie, and our producer was really hyped on it. And it's a story of this incel demon who kills this wife and her family because she won't like holler at him. And so it's not funny because people do stuff like that. But the story then is like, what do you do with the story? So one of the things is he traps him in a burning house. And so I tell the story of the ghost of the son. Well, Schaffer you're Mr. Boogedy in it, right?
No, I'm the devil. I play the devil in that.
You're the devil who's made a deal with him, and I'm the son telling the story. But through am I third person, I think? No, first person.
No. You're first person.
First person. But the way we tell it is telling the story of American history from the Pilgrims to present day. And that's the only interesting way for me to interesting way for me to tell that story, because it's like, okay, well, what happens when you have this Disney property that's really limited? And so it's like, we'll tell another story that reflects it. And it reflects like the story of like Manifest Destiny and all like the evils of the American history through that perspective. So if a song is not, I kind of like this with like, I get this technique from Lit Hop. If a song feels boring, just fill it with a lot of information and make it educational. And then if you have a hook that's got an emotion, that works. Or just erase the song. Yeah.
And that was a great angle. That was a great thing Lars did. Like, this is a very short, it's like, I don't know, an hour and 15 minutes made for Disney TV movie in the early 80s. And it's really not very good, but you can watch it on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find this angle. And Lars took one line of dialogue from that, which was they acknowledged that Mr. Boogedy and the spirit of this child have been trapped in this house for 300 years. And that was like what he needed to take. He's like, well, what did they miss in 300 years? And
yeah,
great.
There's a thing, I recently interviewed an author in person, which I quite like doing the in-person thing. If you're ever in the UK, hit me up. And he did something called reuse the assets, which is when you're writing a book and you come to a dead end, you can potentially use the ideas that you didn't put onto the paper, and you can potentially use them a lot later on in the book, and no one will ever know because it's kind of your dirty little secret. And it sounds like that, because I always struggled as a musician. I always struggled to know when a song is finished, and also when a song isn't very good and it kind of just has to live and die on the cutting room floor, as it were. So sounds good.
That was interesting, because like there wasn't any finished songs we didn't use, but we did have to narrow down the Disney vein of like, we were like, are we going to do Star Wars? Are we going to do Marvel? No, we have to like, we had to like limit it at the beginning. But there were a lot of ideas that ended up on the floor that would have been cool, but that was a hard thing. But we also, having a deadline makes that easier.
Yeah, I think that really benefited us. Like, it's something that I wouldn't have done. I did a Kickstarter for my last album, but when I launched my Kickstarter, my album was finished. And so it was just, putting final details on it. But we launched this Kickstarter after we had one song done. So, and I feel that informed the way that we worked, because I was very concerned about making sure we got this thing done to meet our deadline, and which helps because you can't be so incredibly precious about every little thing. You can't just focus on a song and obsess on a song and write it to death. We just had to like get something down where it felt not like we were just, I don't know, phoning it in, but something that we still lived with, that we thought was dope, but then moving on because we had more songs to write. I kind of liked working with that timeline.
Cool, man.
Yeah. That Steve Albini, he says, if an album takes more than a week to make, someone's effing up. That was his famous quote about In Utero. The actual recording of it.
All right.
You spent a year writing it, but like he got Nirvana in the Minnesota woods, and he's like, all right, what do you got? Record. Like if you spend forever redoing it, it's not going to get much better. You can work on it for a while, but I love that. Even though Steve Albini's kind of cantankerous and opinionated, I like that quote.
Fair enough. I'm conscious of time, so I'm just going to rattle through these sort of low priority questions, which is favorite 2 Disney films.
Ooh, I can name. Wait, I'll Schaefer. I'll name yours. You name mine.
Really? Okay. Okay. Yours is Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yep. What's
Obviously.
that? Wait, do we each have 2, Ben, or each
2
one?
each. 2 each.
2. Ooh. Then Lars's second favorite Disney movie is The Black Cauldron.
Yes, it is. You like speaking of blackness and spheres, the black hole.
I do like the black hole a lot. Tried to write a black hole song for this album, and I just couldn't make it work. And was like, I was belaboring it, so we had to move on.
Would it be Pinocchio, your other one? I don't know.
Pinocchio. I like Pinocchio. I like the old Disney stuff. It's complicated to say that I like it because I find it fascinating. There's some questionable storytelling, and there's all kinds of just weird side missions that derail the narrative all of the time. And stuff like Pinocchio is a great one. A great example of that. But I don't know. I think like my favorite Disney movies are probably, from a storytelling perspective, they're all like Pixar movies. I know that kind of changes
we
it.
We did no Pixar. We almost did a Toy Story song.
No, we have one song. We have a bunch of songs that are really focused on particular properties, but then we have another song that references a ton of Disney properties, and that song has some Pixar references. But I don't know. WALL-E is like one of my favorite movies ever made.
Yeah.
I love it. I just love that movie so much.
Man, you have a son, right?
Yeah.
Or a daughter?
Casper, yeah, my son.
How old is he?
10.
So that's a great age. Like, I don't know if you do a lot of movie time, but I'm wondering what his favorite Disney movie is.
We watched Flubber last night. He had a lot of questions.
The Jerry Lewis version or the Robin Williams version?
Robin Williams.
Oh,
yeah, man. So good. Favorite films for him is probably Finding Nemo and Toy Story 1 or 2.
Yeah, gets a little dark in 3.
Yeah. There's a lyric in one of your songs, I think it's rated G, something like that. Apologies if that's wrong.
That's correct.
And it mentions Finding Nemo, his mum dies in the first like 5 minutes of the film. And I was like, oh damn, that's so like heavy.
Yeah, Disney loves traumatizing children with parent deaths early on in the film. I feel like that's how we all became aware of our mortality as children.
Yeah. Just on the darkness of everything as well, this is specifically for Schaefer. Did the fact that your wife or fiance runs a funeral home help you get into a dark headspace when you were writing these songs?
I used to fancy myself as being a very, very dark and morbid guy who come from heavy metal, and I loved all this like dark, twisted, gory imagery. Until my partner became a funeral director. And then I realized that I might have been talking a big game, because she'll come home with stories and I'm almost always like, hold on. You gotta walk me into this slowly. I found out I'm a lot more squeamish than I normally am. But the fact that she does have she does love things that are macabre and also does love Disney really helped to have that resource at home to bounce ideas off of. Yeah.
Love that. Last question. Are you planning to tour 999, or is it just a crowd-funded concept album for now, and you're potentially going to look at that a little bit later on down the road?
That's a great question. I mean, we will do some US dates probably in the spring. Schaefer came to England the first time last year, right? Right, Schaefer? And like that, you got an amazing reaction. So I don't know. I always love working with him. So it just comes down to whether our schedules line up. I think yes. I mean, definitely we're going to do shows around this record. That's a good question, Ben. But only if Schaefer wants to.
My bags are already packed. Let's go.
Sounds good. Awesome.
That's it.
That's it. That's all I got. So thank you very much. We're on time, and check out 999 when it drops. Just quickly, when does it drop?
January 20th.
Okay.
But
I think it might not though.
Right. But there'll be singles before that. right?
That's what's up. Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah. Yeah. And also, wait, Ben, in the
Yeah,
last few minutes, can I
of
interview
course you
you?
can. Absolutely. Go for it.
Okay. So you work in tech as your day job when you're not playing bass and doing these cool podcasts, right?
Yep, exactly that. Yeah.
So like who is harder to manage, creatives or like engineers?
Hmm.
Two sides of the same coin, really. Everyone's got ideas. No one wants to share them, and sometimes this podcast specifically is like herding sheep, especially with people that are more than sort of three people in a meeting. Um, I'd say creatives. Creatives have got lots of ideas, but
Yeah.
ultimately an idea is an idea unless it's written down or recorded or, you know, people spin, don't they, when they think that there's a better idea other than the one that they've already got. And sometimes the best thing you need to do is just lay it down on the table, as it were. So yeah,
Yeah.
creatives.
Because here's the interesting thing, like all the creative people that I love to work with are creatives who have both like this vision of what are the possibilities and also this sort of like practical way to get ideas done. And the hardest thing, especially with like rap, is how to make a business out of it,
Yeah.
right? So it's like you have to really engineer your creativity in a very difficult way, and I think that's like what bottlenecks a lot of people from
Mm.
doing it full time. But I found working with tech, working like I do, the R drive stuff,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that is interesting because like when you have a clear goal,
Mm.
it motivates people because it's like Occam's razor, the idea that the simplest thing is the easiest. But like when you're like, how do I work together with an artist to become like a successful rapper?
Mm.
It's less concrete goal. So engineers have an easier endpoint that I think like makes it easier to work with them. Do you
Yeah.
think that's part of it?
Yeah, definitely. And also, if you find five insanely talented people, they might not work well with other people. So you get this clashing of titans, and sometimes nothing ever gets done because you're just constantly undoing everyone else's work, and that can get quite frustrating. So
What's the biggest guest you've had on Absolute Bedlam?
Billy Sheehan,
That's what's up. How did you get them?
I messaged him on Facebook, and I couldn't believe I had to put my phone down. When Wheatus followed me back on Twitter, man, I completely lost it. I was like, what is happening? Um, I've
That's
also
dope.
had a couple of fairly successful YouTubers on, um, in the sort of 2 million subscriber mark. So yeah,
So
it's
what?
been going
So
well.
what's the best way you communicate with people? Because I remember like you're good at
Yeah,
Twitter communication. Where how do you get what's the best return on your time investment on the platforms?
I found Instagram to be quite good.
Okay.
If someone's got a contact in their tab on their profile, that means they've got an email address. Whereas sometimes it's not, the person doesn't run the account, it's their team that runs the account. And Kevin Hart actually gave me a shout out a year ago, and that made me just go absolutely bananas.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
serious. Yeah, yeah, that was crazy. I'm assuming he just got the wrong person or something. But yeah, he said thank you for the feedback on my podcast because he's got his own. So yeah, it's a mixed bag, man. I try to see that little DM thing on every social media, but a lot of the times people have to follow you back to be able to actually talk to you. So
Yeah, that's tight. Well, I think you do a good job, and I appreciate that you are nice. And what? This is the third time I've talked to you, right?
yep,
Wasn't I on your marathon?
yep,
Oh,
third time.
shoot.
You're good.
Okay, wait. Last question. When Frenela opened for Wheatus, what was song got the best reaction?
Power user.
Ooh,
Really?
That's
that's
a
a
Did he
banger.
have
sexy song.
I love that song.
did he have any artists? Did he have the Wheatus guys play backup for
Yeah,
him?
backing singer. He slowly started getting like the whole of Wheatus on stage, like throughout the
Yeah,
set. And Matt, their bassist of Wheatus, was he was in a couple of songs. I can't really. It was all a bit of a blur, man. To be honest, like I spent the
yeah,
whole day in that area because I interviewed Brendan at 3 p.m. and he had such bad eunomia And I was
Oh,
just
right.
like,
I remember seeing online that he got really sick.
I can't interview this guy for 30 minutes, man. Like, I gave him 6 minutes and he went to sleep in a sofa behind me because he was just wiped out. So
Oh.
then we went shopping, me and my girlfriend, and then we came back later on when the doors opened. But yeah, lots of waiting around on tour, isn't it? So
Oh yeah. Especially in England, because it's like every city's 5 minutes away from the other. Not
Yeah.
literally, but
Yeah.
you're like, I'm a leave. Oh, what time is sound check? 7. Okay.
Yeah.
We have to leave at 6:30 then from
Yep.
the hotel. It's cool though, but
Yep.
that's cool. I mean, it was just surprising to me how freaking long their tour was.
Mm-hmm.
They played they did like a 4-month tour of England.
Yep. And there were
47
people
shows.
there were people complaining on their Instagram they weren't playing certain areas, and I just thought, I think Jarrett from Bowling for Soup commented on it saying, "You can't be serious. Like, we're literally playing
Yeah.
every single point of interest in the UK."
Everyone's backyard.
That's it.
That's
yeah.
cool, man. That's so cool. Well, awesome. Thanks for your love, bro. And
It's all right.
I'm glad I met you.
You too. Thanks for sticking around, and thanks, Mark. Nice to meet you for the first time.
Pleasure. Same. Thank you for
And,
having us.
Hey, Benji,
Yep.
will you be able to download these from your Zoom account since I made you co-host? Oh,
Yeah, that's cool.
I learn more every day.
We're all good. We're always learning. But I'll be in
Glad I met
touch.
you.
Cheers.
Thanks. Peace.
Take care.
Bye.
Absolute Bedlam.
Hey guys, it's John here from Absolute Bedlam.
Bedlam.
We just wanted to take a moment to introduce you to our brand new Patreon. If you head over to Patreon now, you can get access to behind the scenes footage, ad-free content and episodes. You can even send your own requests in terms of the content you would like to see us create. All of this is available to you and more. We've got free options available to you as a patron with us. If you just want to support what we do and help build the Absolute Bedlam experience, a small fee of £1 a month, you can do just that. If you want to get access to that ad-free content, those ad-free episodes, for £5 a month, you can join the Hive. And if you want all of that and more behind the scenes footage, commission works with us, live Q&A sessions, for £10 a month, all of the madness, all of the chaos of Absolute Bedlam will be yours. So head over to Patreon now, become a patron, and join the Hive.
Absolute Bedlam podcast. Who? What? Where? Why?